Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my good buddy Jake. Jake, how you doing, man?
Good man, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. He's also known as Jake with a Y. Uh, he is a rapper, Christian rapper specifically. Jake, so if you would you just tell everybody, a bit about your music and Jake with a Y and just kind of what it is that you're doing with that?
Yeah, so a question I get asked a lot is where the name came from. And originally I was just Jayke, just Jake. And every time I would tell people, they'd be like, "What's your name?" So I can look you up. I'd say Jake, and then they put Jake. So I started just saying Jake with a Y, Jake with a Y, Jake with a Y, and then I eventually just changed it to Jake with a Y. It was actually my roommate's idea to put the widow part. At first, I thought it sounded kind of dumb, but then it really grew on me, and now I love it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been making music. I've been writing music since I was in middle school, but I never really thought anything would come from it, honestly. Um, I think I started recording music when I was 18, and I thought I wasn't going to show anybody. I was like out at the park, parked at 4 a.m., recording on my phone, headphones. Uh, I had no idea what I was doing, but I just knew I enjoyed doing it. And I think I dropped, but I guess I should have started with saying I started out in the secular music scene. A lot of the people I was making music with at that time were like drug dealers and whatever else, just involved in bad stuff. And uh, but I'm thankful now that I was able to have that secular experience beforehand because I sucked back then, and so I was able to kind of suck in in the secular scene. And then when I gave God my yes and switched over to CHH because I've always went to church and stuff. I just never really followed God. Um, I gave him my yes and decided to give my music to him. I was like, well, at least I don't suck, At least I can come into this and be decent at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the general idea of how I got here.
Okay. And so you keep your old songs, some of them on your Spotify account, right?
I do. Yeah,
Why
I
do you do
got
that?
like a whole album. So what's funny is I don't think I've told you this part, but I deleted about half of them. So I think I have 9 of them up there still. And I at one point I had almost 20 of them. And I went through and I kind of cherry picked and I deleted some. And then I want to say this was May because I dropped my first CHA song this June. Um, there was a 2 year gap in between there where I didn't drop a song from like summer of 2021 to summer of 2023. But in May, after I'd already deleted half of them, I went through, I was going to delete the other ones. And I feel like God told me in that moment, like, spoke to me and said, people need to hear that you came from this. Like, I think if it was up to Satan, I think he would want me to delete all that and just pretend like I'm this new person and this is me and this is who I've always been. But I think it's kind of important for people to hear that that's not what I always was and that, God can take you from that and put you into a new situation and use you for the good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings that stuff to the light so that, you know, say even a non-believer comes to your account and listens and and knowing that, right? Knowing that this is where I was and I'm going to shine some light on it. I'm not going to hide it. But here's what I've become. Here's what God has done for me. So that's huge. I love that.
Yeah, even like I'm really trying to use it in a way because I've made two separate playlists on my Spotify account where it's like one's the old me and one's the new me. So the new me will have all my new Christian songs and the old me will have all my secular songs. But I just think, yeah, like for example, my wife's a teacher at a high school and she was showing them my music yesterday and they were going through all my secular stuff and then they heard my new stuff and they were like, this sounds completely different. And my wife had to explain to them. And I had a couple kids follow me from that, and I think that's important because a lot of those kids are probably in that same area where
Yeah.
I don't know if it's drugs or what they're involved in. For me, it was a lot of drugs and like drug dealing and stuff like that. So it was kind of like I know there's kids out there that are doing that, and if they listen to my old stuff, they hear I was doing that. Now they hear me talking about God. They're like, "Well, why can't I do that?"
hmm So if you're comfortable with it, what for you was like the moment, like the pinnacle turning point, um, to go from secular to Christian rap? And obviously there was you getting saved in between there, but if you want, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, I feel like to properly tell this story, I kind of got to give you a background on my church history a little bit.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Pentecostal church. The women wore jean skirts, the men wore suits, kind of deal. The women had buns, and
Wow.
it was a very judgmental place. People would you get kicked out of church. Like, I witnessed a couple times black families come into the church and basically get ran out, kind of deal. Um, Things were said at the pulpit that shouldn't have been said. I won't get into all of that, but
Yeah, yeah,
that as when you're a kid and you go through something like that, it's kind of like you start to think that's all that, or that's what Christianity is in a way, because you don't know any better. So I stopped going to church from like 15 to my wife got me back into church when I think I was 22. It was either 22 or 21. So I didn't go to church at all, read my Bible, anything. And within that time, I just got lost on my bad. I just lost my train of thought.
no, no, you're good.
Um, but yeah, within that time, I started making music, obviously. And when I got back to church, I really started to become convicted on the stuff that I was doing. Um, it was like, my bad, bro. I'm like losing my train of thought.
You're good, man. You're good.
Um,
Just talking about that transition from.
yeah. So you asked for a turning point. I would say the main turning point, like I said, I took 2021 to 2023 off. Within that little gap, so I was baptized for the first time in it was the end of 2021. And so at that time I wasn't making music at all. I actually thought I was gonna quit making music.
Mm.
I talk about that all the time. Like I was telling God about it, like it's crazy to me that, I was gonna quit and now you're asking me to help you run this label. And I didn't want to do it anymore because for a while I was praying to God about community. I was like, if you want me to make music, I need like people around me who have the same vision, the same mindset, and I wasn't getting it. In fact, I was becoming more isolated. And now I know that that's because he wanted me to get my mental in order. He wanted me to really focus on myself and getting to know him before I got back into it. But you asked for a turning point, and this is what I would say my turning point was I got drunk one night, like way too drunk. I think I drank like half a bottle of Jim Beam or something, and I'm sitting there and like the room's spinning, and I fall asleep. And I had a dream that like where God was telling me like if I had stayed down this path, I was going to become an addict. I was going to become an alcoholic. I was going to be everything that I didn't want to, like everything I didn't like about my family. I was going to fall down that path as well. And that was a big wake up call for me where I was like, okay, I got to get my life back in order. And the music followed that, I would say. Once I really decided to get my mind in order and my life in order and like do things the right way, the music just kind of followed after that. And I fell back in love with it slowly.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate the vulnerability, man. That's um, yeah, man. It's crazy that I don't hear a lot of people say that they've had dreams, like like that. And so it's always cool when God can communicate with us like that and really kind of wake us up. Um,
I've had some crazy dreams. I could share another one with you. I
oh yeah,
think God speaks to me in that way, if you want me to.
yeah, go for it, man.
This was also in that same time frame. I was living in Pittsburgh, Kansas. So this was like a college town, and I was doing a lot of drugs back then, stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And I had a dream one night, and it was like I died, but I was like there was like a pool. It's almost like you hear those people say they have a dream that they went to heaven.
Hmm.
I would say it was kind of like that, but I'm not going to sit here and say I saw heaven. I think God showed me a situation and a place that I needed to see in that time where it was like I was in this swimming pool full of it was like black water, and it was like we were all floating to the end where there were angels and there were demons, and the demons were taking some people this way and the angels were taking some people this way. And obviously, this way led to heaven, this way led to hell. And they're like physically fighting each other. And, when it got to me, I saw them fighting each other, and it was almost like the demon was winning, but then the angel won kind of deal. And then he kind of showed me where I was supposed to go. And, to me, that was heaven. I'm not going to sit here and say I was in heaven. It's
Right.
just, I think God showed me there is like a spiritual warfare going on inside your mind, and this is where I want to take you, but it's very easy for you to go this other way. And so
Mhm.
those two dreams were big. Like I remember them vividly in my brain. So those were big for me.
Yeah, it was more probably like a metaphorical idea of the spiritual battle kind of going on.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild, dude.
Yeah, man.
I can hardly. I think I can't remember the last time I remember a dream, like having a dream. I'm not. It's just not a thing for me.
I don't, yeah, and that's the thing is like I don't feel like I have a lot of dreams, and if I do, I don't remember them. But those
Hmm.
two specifically, I do remember. Very like I remember them as if I can like run them back in my head. So that to me is a God thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy, man. Oh man. Um, that's sweet though. I appreciate that. Um, so first of all, shout out to your new hoodie. That's
Yeah,
dope.
this is nice, man. Just got.
Yeah, that's
I
dope.
wish I was like a brand ambassador, but I'm not. Just go buy this hoodie. I don't even know where I found it. It was just online somewhere.
But Amazon's probably there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, but that's dope. Um, so let's talk about who. Let's talk about influence. So who was your biggest influence to get into rap, even just at the secular part of it?
Um, that is a great question and one that I've never thought about. Um, I wouldn't say there was really one person that I can point. I mean, I had a lot of favorite rappers growing up.
Hmm.
There were a couple people in my town that did it. This guy named Saint Rick, and I ended up making a song with him later. There were a couple people that did it, and I would say I looked up to them a little bit just in terms of like they were putting themselves out there, and I thought that was really cool. But my favorite rappers were Logic and J. Cole, which they're highly secular, so I don't suggest you go like Google them or anything. But those are my those are my two big influences, and Meek Mill, who also same deal. But
Hmm.
um, that I mean, for me, man, it was more of just an artist thing, like an art. To me, music is art. It's not really music. It's like the ability to put words on top of a instrumental is just it's an artwork to me, and for me, I feel more like an artist than a rapper, I guess. Like I literally, that used to be one of my taglines is like, I don't want to be a rapper, I want to be an artist.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess the influence for me is really just the writing. I wanted to share my thoughts because like growing up, I didn't talk to any, well, I had friends. I'm saying I didn't share my feelings with people.
Hmm.
And so music was kind of like my way to do that. And I feel like it opened me up a little bit to where I can do it with more people. But music was my initial like putting my feelings down and showing them to people, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
was kind of like my inspiration was just kind of doing it for myself. And then, I listened to a lot of rappers that I wanted to be like, kind of deal.
And it all just kind of came together, and you just decided to make
Yeah.
some music. So
Yeah, and like I said, I had no idea what I was doing at the beginning. I was on GarageBand recording on do you remember the iPhone headphones with the little tiny like rectangle on them, and you had to
yeah,
hold it up to your mouth?
yeah, I still use those.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was recording on those, and then I went from that to like a $20 mic inside of a closet. So I really had like the full elevation.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. So I'll just I'll kind of walk through a little bit. So you came back, you said 2022, started writing Christian rap, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I started writing Christian rap in 2022. Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm leading up to, you meeting Donovan, and I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because that leads us into, kind of where you're at now, where we're all at now. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't want to take away from your story, but so you started writing it, and you're praying for other guys who are involved in this, and you want to get a group of guys like that. So what, you guys met in July of this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you know
And
that, man? How'd you know that?
so well, I actually, a few days ago, I went back and listened to yours and his episode that you recorded.
Okay, okay,
Yeah. And then
okay.
yeah. But so you guys met in July, and then Donovan had asked me, I think, just a month or two later about the On Fire stuff. Um, and so it's amazing what God did in such a short time. Like
Hmm.
you you answered the call, and then you started writing the Christian rap, and then you prayed about it, and then God delivered pretty quickly. So I think that's pretty cool. Did you
Yeah.
want to share anything on that? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to talk about, you said Donovan specifically, because that was kind of the beginning of all this, because I never would have like, it was Donovan, and then it was Godbody, and then it was everybody else, and then, UCHH. Um, Actually, it's funny you asked this because I went back and he was like, "Why did you do this?" But I went back and I scrolled through all of our Instagram messages. It took me like 20 minutes, but I scrolled through because I was very curious about how this all began. I was like, "Did I see a reel?" And I messaged him, or I literally just messaged him and I was like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" That's all I said.
No way.
And yeah, I don't know why I said that. And that's what I told him at the beginning was like, I don't just talk to people. And that's maybe part of why I never found a community because I wasn't just out there talking to people.
Hmm.
But we had like an organic conversation, and then what's funny about that whole interaction is I didn't know he had anything to do with like music at all. I didn't know he had rappers on his podcast or anything. I think it was a few days after that he was like, "Yeah, I've had Zonti and Hovey and Paris Carriz and all these dudes on my podcast." I'm like, "What is he talking about?" I was like, "Is this dude famous?" So I like went to his page. I went to his Spotify and I was like, "This dude's had all these rappers on." So for me, that was a God thing because I had no idea. Because he said he thought I messaged him because I saw all those dudes on his podcast and I wanted to get put on or whatever. I was like, "No, I had
Mm.
no idea." So, but from there, I asked him, I was like, "Do you know anybody within music that's looking for a connection?" Because I'm looking for a connection. And then he introduced me to Godbody. And from there, like I talk to Godbody every single day. Um, I consider him like family now almost. And like you said, that was July. You know, it's crazy. It's
Wow.
crazy the way God works. And from there I've met you guys with On Fire. You guys are a great community to be a part of. And it's like I tell everybody, I prayed for a community and he gave me two because we got On Fire and then everything at UCHH has become like a brotherhood where we don't just share music, we share testimonies and we pray for each other and that kind of thing. And that's what I was looking for within music. And I feel like God was just telling me, to be patient. And I was like, have you ever seen the video of the kid standing around the corner and there's a guy with like a 2x4 ready to hit him? And God's
Yeah.
like, no, you can't go.
Hmm.
That's what I felt like. I was like, God, I'm ready. I'm ready. And he's like, no, you can't go yet. And, he finally let me go a little bit. And yeah, I'm just blessed for sure to have met everybody that I've met through this.
Super cool. Um, yeah, man. It's so I obviously growing up, I listened to all sorts of music, and rap was definitely one of them. I the basic stuff, Eminem and G-Eazy and like all the normal stuff that in your wicked days that you listen to, right?
I
Um,
mean, when I was in high school, I used to call myself Jay Easy. I had like the comb over. I had all that, so I know what you mean.
yeah, and but like it's such a weird thing because I I like I was very very specific with my rap, and like I didn't really like a lot of rap,
Yeah.
but dude, I'm telling you what, like, and this isn't necessarily a promotion for UCHH, but it kind of is. But um, dude, some of these dudes on here, like you and Godbody, and some of these newer cats on there, dude, it has it has given me like a strange new love for rap because
Really?
Oh yeah, because I never really cared much for rap. I really only listened to Eminem because it's pretty obvious. Like he's just really good and he has, crazy freestyles and stuff like that. But other than that, it didn't really interest me. But yeah, dude, this playlist and like you guys have given me a new profound love for hip hop
That's cool.
and a huge appreciation for it too um because I didn't really think rap or think of rap in such a very good way because
Yeah.
my dad, he was a big old redneck and we grew up on a lot of old country and stuff like that. So it was kind of taboo for me to even listen to rap in the first place. But yeah.
Well, I like so my mom's side of the family is like backwoods country, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure they probably don't support what I'm doing. I don't know. I don't talk to them, but I was blessed to have like different um cultures around me.
Mhm.
You know, I was able to have. That's why I got a little country in me. You could probably hear it in my voice a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
and I got no problem going outside and getting dirty. But at the same time, I grew up in like a school where I was the only white dude on my basketball team. And, I grew up in a town where we had a boys' home. So there'd be boys with troubled past coming in and out of there. And it's just, I was blessed to meet a lot of different kinds of people. And it kind of turned me into what I am now. So you say that, and I don't know, rap is just always what I listen to. That and like old school rock. I grew up, my dad was into like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. I'm into like the funky kind of rock. I listen to a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers. Don't tell anybody I said that. You can edit that part out.
I'll take it out.
But yeah. So I get what you mean for sure. I don't really know anything about metal, but I'm trying to stay engaged with what you guys have going on, and you guys are building a community, right?
Yeah, yeah, man.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we've got a few people, um, and I'm really excited for this next live because there's a lot more people that have messaged me and are wanting to be involved in it. Um, but yeah, for me personally, I know he's kind of got people that he has that he talks to, but I've got a couple guys that I talk to quite often, and it's cool to see, man. It's really cool to see, and I'll just kind of hit on it in general for the hip hop and the metal playlist. Like even some of those guys too. Like I'll talk to them and um, what's it, Underwood? Is that his name? Underwood?
Nicholas Underwood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I talk to him every now and then. He's a pretty cool dude, but
yeah.
it's just amazing to see like people that have only known each other for a month or a few months, how quickly that they can build that relationship, and then you guys can come together and have you? I don't want to maybe spoil anything. Do you plan on making any music with any of those guys anytime soon?
Oh, we're all over we're all making music with each other. It's crazy. I
Okay.
can't even keep up, honestly.
Yeah.
Danny, if you go on our playlist, Danny's on like half the playlist now. Either he's featuring in songs or man, shout out to Danny.
Yeah.
Danny is a worker, Danny J.
Hmm.
He literally everybody's sending me these tracks like, look at this track I made, and it's like featuring Danny J. I'm just like, how does this dude have the time to do this? But yeah, like when is this dropping? When is this podcast dropping?
I haven't decided yet. I've got two more to record this month. Um,
Okay.
so and then I'm working on a new intro and I'm working on a few other things. So once I get that all kind of leveled out, I'm hoping that December,
Okay.
but if not, probably at the beginning of the year.
I just asked because me and Garbody are actually working on like a collab EP, so it's gonna be 5 songs, all produced by him. Um,
Wow.
Pretty much, I don't want to say co-written, but like he's helping me. Like it's pretty much a collaboration to the fullest extent. We'll both be in the cover art. So I'm excited about that. That's gonna be like my first project because up until now, in terms of CHH, I've only dropped singles. I dropped an album on the secular. I actually dropped 2 albums, but I deleted one on the secular side. This will be like my first project within CHH, so I'm really excited about it. It's going to be called In the Beginning, which I thought which he came up with the name, and I was like, that's genius. We have
Yeah.
to use that. So, um, yeah, man, I'm excited about that. I don't know. Do you know who Vessel is?
Mm-mm.
He's in the hip hop. Okay, I just did a couple verses for him. Me and Danny have like 4 songs unreleased that are already done. So we got a lot going on, man. And I'm excited about it because it's crazy. Like when I first started the group, because I went to Donovan and I told him my idea, and he was like, "That's a great idea. We should do that." I kind of was like, okay, I guess I didn't realize the full extent of how much this would bring people together. I was just like,
Hmm.
okay, that's what I wanted it to do, and now I'm seeing that it was made to do that. But I just couldn't have imagined, like, Danny and Nick were telling me that they talked on the phone the other day for 4 hours just about life, and I'm just like, it's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a blessing for sure because I think we were all looking for that in some capacity. And just to from everyone being in different places, like Nick's from Washington State, Danny's from Kansas City, I'm from Wichita, got buddies in Florida, Vessel's in New York, uh, Practicing Perfect's in Detroit, and then TJ's in Africa. And it's just like the fact that we all found a way to be in this one group is insane to me.
Yeah. That's huge.
But shout out to those guys, man. They're real good dudes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Um, yeah, so big things are coming for you guys, and um, God definitely answered your prayers there. Kind of going
Yeah.
back to you asking for a group, you got it. Um, but so we talked about that. Now tell me about a little bit more about you personally. So you're a dad and you're a husband. You want to talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, what's crazy is we had a kid, what, like a week or two apart from each other?
Yeah,
It was pretty close.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I had my first kid, baby Aaliyah is what I call her. We had her September 25th, which is ironically my wife's birthday. She was 2 weeks late just so she could be born on my wife's birthday. Um, but she's a blessing, man. I don't like, they talk about that love you see for your child whenever you first see them. Um, for me, at that moment, it was a relief that my wife was done going through that, is what I
mm,
was experiencing. But the days after, I was just staring at my baby like this is a mini version of me. And I was like, I would do anything to protect this, you know?
mhm,
And it's just crazy because I mean, I always wanted to be a dad, but I never knew how fulfilling it would actually be. Um, yeah, I don't know, like the last 2 months, I mean, it's an adjustment, as you know. You went from 1 kid to 2 kids, right? Yeah,
yeah.
so
You
you
can
know
see the
about the adjustment period.
yeah. You guys can see the bags under our eyes.
Yeah. Man, I've gotten real lucky actually from what I've heard. My daughter will sleep from like 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., which is insane apparently. People keep
Yeah,
telling me like that's not normal.
yeah.
I
That
don't know if it's gonna stay that way. It wasn't like that at first. I would say that's been for like the last 2 weeks. So we've gotten insanely lucky, I guess. But um
mm,
yeah, man, it's something. It's definitely something.
yeah. And I kind of want to talk on that feeling, um, because I think I'm pretty sure I had texted you before you guys had the baby and kind of told you something like that. I can't remember.
I
Um,
think yeah, you had said something.
but it I just remember like having our first daughter, and like you love your parents and you love your wife and you love certain friends, and they're all different, but you don't really think about it until, at least for me personally, I didn't really think about it until I had a kid, and it was like an overwhelming love I had never even knew could exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like I like my first two thoughts were I would die for you and I would kill for you. Like
yeah,
those were my legit two thoughts as I'm holding my daughter. And the feeling doesn't change with the second either. Like as soon as that second girl was born, it was the same thing all over again. Just so overwhelming and so cool and such an awesome um, undeserved opportunity, to have kids. Super cool.
Yeah,
So,
for
but yeah,
sure.
yeah. Um, Proud of you too, and congratulations on the new baby. That's huge.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Um, so your daughter, she's 2 months, or she's almost 2 months.
She is on Monday. She'll be 9 weeks, so 2 months
Whoa,
and a week. Yeah.
that's
And
that's
how
awesome.
old? How old
You
is
guys
yours
didn't have any
again?
complications with the baby.
No,
She's
not with the baby. No.
Yeah, that's good. And you have a good sleeper. Yeah, I'm really our so I will say this second baby is a lot better at sleeping than our first one, dude. She gave us every possible, roadblock and stressor that she possibly could. She didn't
Really?
sleep. Oh yeah. She was for the longest time she was up. I'd probably say every 45 minutes, and we didn't do it like we did it now. We both slept in our bed and the baby was right next to us. Every 45 minutes, I'm getting up and I'm getting this and I'm getting that, and she's trying to calm the baby down, and it was just constant for like just months, months and months and months. I'd say the first year we slept
Yeah.
like absolute crap. So for a whole year I was just exhausted, but we both were. But then the second one, dude, um, she sleeps way better. She's given me 5 hour stretches before, but typically she's gets like 2 to 3 hours.
I see.
But either way.
She so I watch her on Mondays, and she'll get up at like 4:30, and she doesn't like to sleep a lot during the day. Not for me, anyways. My wife has like a magic touch. I don't. She doesn't. I don't know what it is about me, but she's like, no, I want to stay with you at all times. She just wants to be held like all day. And so she'll be up from like 4:30 to like noon, and then she might sleep for 20 minutes, and then she's back up. And I think the reason she sleeps so much throughout the night, because people that watch her during the day while we're at work, they'll say like, yeah, she didn't sleep much. I think it's because she doesn't sleep much during the day. She wants to be up and doing things, and then she just crashes. But
Mhm.
I don't know if, I mean, it kind of works for her schedule, I guess. I don't know if she's going to keep that up, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I hope so for your guys' sake, because I know all babies are different, but they go through so many stages and they go through so much change that it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
But being a dad's fun.
Yeah. I mean, she's, I used to pride myself on being emotionless, which probably wasn't a good thing. But I mean, she's bringing emotions out of me that I didn't even know I had. Like, I'm like laughing at her and singing to her and playing with her. 2 years ago, I never would have been doing any of that, and I would have been telling myself, "You're not going to be that dad," but I am that dad. I'm
Hmm.
definitely that dad. So it's
And
yeah,
that's a
it's
good thing.
fun.
That's huge, man. Because I feel like a lot of dads nowadays, especially in our generation, there's a lot of deadbeat dads, and
Yeah,
like I hear my wife talk to some of her friends, um, but she's like on these Facebook groups and stuff, and she talks to a lot of different, moms that have kids around the same age. And some of these dads that she tells me about that these women will talk about in this group, dude, they're wild. Like they're mean and they don't help out, and that's I feel like that's a majority of I don't want to say a majority. I feel, but it's too many. It's too many dads that
yeah, too
are,
many.
yeah, that are okay with being a piece of crap and not helping their wife with kids, helping around the house, and just engaging as a dad should. Uh,
And it's more common than we think too. Like us being good fathers, we don't really think about it. But I was at work. I think this was yesterday actually. This dude, I used to work in the same department as him, so we talk every time I see him, and I was kind of like, he was asking about the baby, blah blah blah, and he was like, "Are you a full participant?" And I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Are you participating in raising the baby?" And I was like, "Yeah, like what does that mean? I don't understand." And he's like, not everybody like changes diapers and does this and does that." And I'm like, "I don't know, just like that's a normal thing that happens. I feed her, I change her diapers, and I don't know. It's crazy to me. But my wife, yeah, I was telling her, she's like, yeah, some men are bums, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really get it, but they're definitely out there.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it. I think there's a lot of them too in like the older generations of men. Um,
Hmm.
I heard this. I heard the statistics. I don't even remember the percentage, but I know it was really high. I think it was like 6% of dads or something had never even changed a diaper back in like, you know, the 70s or 80s. And then as it goes closer to where like current time, I think it get shoots up to like 60 something percent. But that's still, man, that's a lot of dads that
Yeah.
are not participating as they should. Um, and it's a huge problem. I hate to see it, and I hate to hear that, you know, um, that women have to experience that kids are gonna have to grow up in an environment like that. Um,
Hmm.
just because like, and I love my dad, but there was a lot of areas um, where he didn't, he kind of fell short. Like
Hmm.
he wasn't very emotional and physical touch kind of guy. And he worked a lot, and so I spent a lot of time with my grandma at her house. Um, and so I didn't really spend a lot of time with either one of my parents, and but specifically my dad. And typically the things that we did together were the things that he was really interested in. Um, I think one of the only things that he really came to me for was video games, and he occasionally would, because I loved to play video games, so he'd sit with me and play video games sometimes. But my point with that is, I being a dad now, I've almost had to just completely erase everything that I learned as a kid and restart with my girls because it was never shown to me. I mean, how to properly, like, he's a hard worker. That's something I definitely got from my dad. But yeah, I've basically had to rewrite the book for myself. What do you think?
That's no, actually, that's crazy. I don't want to bash my dad. You basically just described my father, like
Mm,
word for word, like literally down to the video games. I mean, he might listen to this. He supports my music and stuff, so that's good. But
hmm
like, my dad is also one of those people where, and again, I don't want to bash him, but
Yeah, no.
it's just kind of one of those things where, like you said, he's only interested in what he's interested in. And so,
Mm,
like, for example, the other day, I got a text asking how we were and, like, how the baby was doing this and that. And I answered, and then he didn't respond to it. He started telling me about this project he was working on. And, like, some people don't think about stuff like that, but it's kind of like, you know, if someone
mm,
texts you because they want to tell you something, just tell them something. You hear what I
yeah,
mean? You don't have
yeah, oh,
to
yeah.
start it off by like, but yeah, I wasn't shown. I mean, my parents were split up growing up, so I grew up mainly with my mom, but I also saw my dad. He had another family who I consider my family now as well.
Mm,
But when I was a kid, it wasn't really like that, if that makes sense. Like, as I've gotten older, they've become my sisters, and my stepmom's become, or a motherly figure in my life, even though I do see my mom and all that. But growing up, it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm over here with my mom and my dad's over here with, doing that. It was kind
mm,
of like two separate situations. And my mom was sick a lot. She was like chronically ill with multiple things. And so she'd be in the hospital sometimes for months at a time. And so I'd have to go live with my dad. So it was very unstable for like, oh, I'm used to this. Now I got to go stay here for 2 weeks. Now I got to go back to living here. And there were times where it was kind of like they didn't communicate at all. So I could tell my dad, like, hey, my mom's home 2 days early, so I'm gonna go back over there. I'd ride my bike back home, unlock the door, and I'd sit in the house by myself and take care of myself for 2 days because nobody knew any better.
mm-hmm.
And so the lack of communication was insane. So that's something me and my wife really like. We're reading books about it, and we really want to tell Leah from a young age, like, if you have problems, you need to come talk to us, and we want to stay, open communication with each other because I don't ever want there to be a disconnect where it's like mom said this or dad said this, or like I thought she was here, oh I thought she was here, kind of deal. And I want her to
Mm.
always know that she can come to us and talk to us about whatever, because I didn't have that emotional connection. But the way you just described your dad is very similar to the way I would describe my dad, I would say. Except for I would say I didn't play a whole lot of video games, but I would play like 2K and stuff like that growing up. I would say the one thing he did try to connect with me is I'm like a huge NBA fan. Like, that's all I wanted to do was watch basketball. And so he kind of got into that with me. But I mean, I think like, I don't know about your dad, but my dad, he tries. I just don't know that he had that either. So it's kind of like, someone has to break that cycle. And if we have to be the person that breaks that cycle, then we have to be that person. There's no other way around it. So,
Yeah. No, and like you said, I try to give my dad a lot of grace because um, you know, back then that's how exactly how he was raised. Like his dad, it was actually worse with his dad. His dad was very, very emotionally abusive and just a hard dude. And
yeah.
obviously me and my dad have a good relationship now. We're basically like good friends because we're, both adults and but I give him grace because there wasn't a lot of resources. I know it's not an excuse, um, because but he dealt with a lot of issues from his upbringing, and he kind of carried that into his fatherhood. Um, but at the same time, like you said, like he he carried a few things into it that he knew that he shouldn't have, and he didn't like maybe the stuff that was in his father. Um, and so yeah, as far as us handling business and making sure that we father correctly. We're not perfect. We're gonna mess up,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of things that my dad did that I won't do as a dad, um, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So,
Yeah, but like in your dad's situation, it's almost like I want to say a gradual progression, because you said like his dad was emotionally abusive.
mm,
I don't know if you said your dad was like that, but it's kind of like, okay, well, he became a better version of his dad. Now you're trying to become a better version of your dad.
yeah,
And that's kind of how it goes. As eventually you get to a point in your heritage where it's like somebody has to break that cycle.
yeah,
And but that doesn't mean that the people before weren't trying to be better. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But, you know, that's what it is, man. It's life. We just got to try to be better than the people. I was going to say better than the people around us, but that doesn't sound good. You just got to
I know
try
what
to
you
be a
mean.
better human, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard, man, because there are so many things that just habits and ways that you just pick up, like how to speak to your kids. Um, because the way I was spoken to was a little bit rougher than the way my siblings were spoken to. Um, my parents tell me like us siblings all the time, like that I had the hardest upbringing out of all of them because my parents also were really young then, and it's just the way it turned out. But
Yeah.
uh, it's just carrying that, and um, I see you got me losing my train of thought too.
It happens.
No,
It
but
happens.
no, but man, I just all I know is you know I too and I'm by the way I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I like we're just I know that we're talking about you, but I don't want to like keep
No,
talking
this is
about
why
myself.
this is your podcast, man. I'm into this. Keep going.
But no, like I know with my girls, man, um, there's just so many things that I want to do differently because but oh yeah, so like habits and stuff and ways that I was talked to, I don't want to carry that over onto my kids. Um, and I won't go into super detail about how we want to parent and stuff, but like we've upset some people, especially my mom. There's a lot of there's only a few rules that we implemented before we even had the baby, and it's amazing. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but there's just so much pushback from uh, in-laws and like my parents and just other family members that think the way that we're doing things are weird. I know you kind of mentioned that you guys kind of get some heat for the way you're doing things now. But we're
I
definitely,
would say, yeah, I would say we've gotten more heat about the way we handled the beginning of our marriage, I guess, which we did it correctly. You know, we didn't live together until we got married. It was really just we, I don't know. I wouldn't say honestly, so my mom's a daycare worker,
mhm,
and I guess the way I look at that is like she knows way more than I do. So like I ask her questions, and she's also very good about like, do you have a feeding schedule? Do you just feed her whenever? She asks us questions like a couple times that she's watched her. I feel like so far that hasn't been a real problem, I guess, but I don't know. Like everyone's situation is different.
sure.
Just specifically with my mom, I brought her up because she's a daycare worker. So it's kind of like if she tells me, "Hey, you should be doing this," I'm kind of like, "Okay," because she literally takes care of newborns and infants in a daycare. So I'm kind of like, "Hey," I'll like text her and say, "Hey, what do I need to?" Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's wow. Yeah, that's definitely helpful, man, especially with people with knowledge like that. Um, it, it it's hard because like we had to we kind of had to figure everything out on our own. Um,
yeah,
there were things that we already knew because, like we both had taken care of babies before, but not to the extent of, all night and keeping them and, leaving. I can't believe hospitals just let us leave with these babies. You know what I mean? Like we were
yeah,
just kids and they just let us take these babies home. Um, but it's crazy, man. But it's such a fun ride to have the opportunity to learn stuff like this, man. And it's scary too because you just because I've talked to my dad about it before. Like he's like, man, I know that I did things wrong, and I know that I did this and that. And he's like, I just didn't know. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And
yeah,
uh, and I really respect that because it's true, man. Like there's gonna be things that our kids are gonna come to us one day and say like, man, you really dropped the ball on this one. Um,
yeah.
and be like, yeah, I was trying everything I possibly could to learn everything that I could, and that's what it's all about, though. But
That's what, yeah. So me and my mom had like some deep-rooted issues for a long time over some stuff she's done, and we were able to sit down and have that conversation and be very open about, this is what this did to me, and this is where I was in life at this time, and I feel like those conversations are healthy and they're good because me and my mom have a good relationship now. I haven't really sat down and had that one with my dad.
mm,
I'm not really out of lack of trying, but I do think those conversations are good. And like you said, we're not going to be perfect. And I got to remind myself that all the time because I'm always like, I'm going to be the best dad. I'm going to be the best dad. I'm going to do this and this. And I'm going to be perfect. And I'm going to do this. And then I have to really remember, like, no matter what we do, there's going to be something that our daughter's like, growing up, I didn't really like that you did this and this kind of hurt me or this kind of affected me. And I'm just going to have to be like, okay. And, remove myself from myself and say, okay, I'm sorry I did that. But I was just doing what I could do, like you said your dad did. So
mm,
that's a good conversation to be able to have.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and man, even now, dude, like, I it's something it's always in the back of my mind. Like, how can I be a better husband, better dad? Um, and I'll be at work and I'll be like, man, I really miss the kids. Can't wait to get home. This is what I'm gonna do. And then when I get home, I sit on my phone or I sit and watch TV, and then the whole evening is gone by. And
Yeah,
I may have played with her a little bit, but for the majority, I kept getting distracted and looking at the phone. And um, it's one of those things where like I kind of snap out of it, and now she's going to bed and start the whole process all over again. The whole next day, being at work and like feeling real guilty, like man, can't believe I did that. I'm gonna do better tonight, and it's just constant guilt and constant trying to fix things and make sure that you're doing everything that you possibly can um, to be
yeah. I do.
present.
I do think you can't beat yourself up too much, though. I mean, I do think kids, which who am I to talk? My baby's 2 months old, but I feel like she can at least tell you're trying, you know what I mean? Like when you're playing with her and stuff like that's the stuff she remembers right now. Um, I don't know. I think it's important not to beat ourselves up too much. Like you're not a deadbeat dad. You're taking care of your kids. You're doing what you need to do, and that's what's important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, well, man, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything about yourself? Maybe childhood, current things going on, things coming up in the future, stuff about your
Um,
music?
I mean, I gave you guys like a general kind of testimony. Um,
For sure.
I could go deeper if you want to, because one thing God told me whenever I started in CHH is that, which I don't know how deep you want me to go. We've already been recording for 51 minutes, you know. But
All good.
one thing He told me whenever I got into the CHH scene, it goes along with not deleting my old music, but He told me I needed to be, He used the word explicit, and not explicit meaning like I need to be like raunchy and cuss it. Like He means like I need to be fully honest with people about the things that I was doing because people need to hear that and they need to be able to look at themselves in me and say if he can do this because he was like if he can do this now after doing what he was doing before, then I can do that too. And I say all that to say anytime I get on a podcast, I want to be fully transparent about like the amount of drugs I was doing, the amount of alcohol I was drinking was insane. Um, But, I've done everything from Molly to LSD to shrooms to DMT to smoking weed every day. I've done a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. And I knew I shouldn't have been doing those things, but to me, it was like a escape from reality, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, I started smoking weed when I was 17 and I never looked back. I started drinking when I was 18. Um, it's crazy, man. I say all that just to say, like, I was at my lowest point, and I told you about that dream I had where God came to me and He was like, if you keep doing all these things, you're going to end up exactly like those people you don't want to be. And, I always wanted to make music, and for a long time, I wanted to make music for the wrong reasons. And that made me fall out of love with it. Smoking
Mhm.
weed and making music about smoking weed and doing all that just to try to make some money and selling drugs, trying to make some money. Like, there's nothing fulfilling about any of that. And I hope some kids hear this because there's kids out there who are smoking weed right now and they think, I want to be like that person over there that's flipping packs and they want to do that. But like, I've never felt more fulfilled than when I told God, like when I told him, like, I'm done with all this. I give it to you. I'm done with it. And I want to do what you want me to do. I've never felt it like all the weed I smoked and all those drugs I did. I never felt that high that I felt whenever I gave him my yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good.
And it's like, yeah, I just say all that to say, man, like it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you did. It literally does, none of that matters at all. Jesus was talking with sinners. He was talking with the people who would have been drug dealers and prostitutes and stuff like that today, the people who would have been scamming people out of money. He was talking to those people.
Mhm.
And those are the people we learn about. Those are the disciples we learn about.
Yeah,
And there's no reason you can't be a version of that today. So, yeah,
yeah,
I really want to share that because, I feel like he's told me I need to. So I just needed to get that out.
yeah. No, that's good, man. I appreciate that because it's if you think about the amount of influence and reach that we have, especially nowadays with technology, there's absolutely no reason for us to not, uh, you know, try to do something that reaches as many people as we possibly can. And so for you to
Mhm.
take music and glorify God with it, that's huge. You're reaching so many more people that way than maybe you could if you went to work or if you went to just the normal gas station that you stop by every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not to say that we can't disciple in those places and that we should, but you're reaching people all across the world with music that you're making and the message that you're sending, right? And
you
that's
say, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we got some people on these playlists from all over the place, all over the country, all over. I think we got a few different
True.
countries that are listening to. So,
That's true. Yeah, man. It's yeah. And I was talking about this. I think I don't know who I was talking to about this, but oh, it was my boy PC. So I met this guy down here that makes Christian rap. I thought I was the only one, man, but I found another one. He's kind of an older dude, but I was talking to him about God is like the ultimate creator. God created the earth, He created us, He created everything around us. And for like, He created us to be creators. You know what I mean? Like, if we serve the ultimate creator, why shouldn't we be creators ourselves? Like, you with your artwork and with your editing, me with my music. You got a podcast. You guys are creating podcasts out of thin air. Like, you guys are getting on here and talking with people, and it's crazy, man. I think that's really what He wants. He wants us to be partners. My pastor talked about that one day at church. Like, he doesn't want donations. He wants partners. He wants people he can partner up with and create things and spread what he's doing. He doesn't want people who sit down and give money to their church and
mhm.
sit on their hands. No disrespect to those people, but you know, that's just how I feel. Like, I feel like he wants us out here doing things to spread in creative ways what he's trying to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the attitude we should have as Christians is when we go into a community setting. It's not what can this community do for me, like what can I bring to this community. Um, and that's kind of what we've done with On Fire, right? Like we all have different skills and we all have different interests, and it's like we've come together and it's like what can we do to better each other? What can we do to better this ministry and share it, you know? Uh, and that's the attitude that we should all have, especially just even in your church. Like if you're a handyman and you go to your church and nobody else is a handyman, like what can I offer my church? What can I offer the people around me? Um, to better the community, to strengthen it, to you know, um, and then have those opportunities to spread the gospel. So,
Yeah, man. That person at the door shaking hands.
yeah,
But I just, On Fire is so crazy to me. Like, do you want to speak on Fire at all during
yeah, we
this
can.
podcast? Because,
Let's
like,
do it.
that's so crazy to me that a person could have this vision and then he could somehow manage to get all these people in line. And we're all so different in a way, but we're all the same. I was talking to him about this the other day. Like, I don't think I ever would have talked to some of these people, like that's just what it is. Like, we never would have, me and you probably never would have spoken to each other, but here we are talking about our children and, you know, our skill sets are so different, but they found a way to intertwine. Like, you're making graphics for our playlist, and I'm sure at some point you're going to help me make some covers. You know what I mean? It's like, or you already made the TikTok cover. I forgot. You've already done that. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how people who are so different can come together and be on board with such a big vision. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely God, man, because the second, like, I just feel like if we weren't supposed to be a part of this, like if Donovan came to somebody like me or somebody like Donovan came to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess so." Like, and then probably not stick around because it sounds too good to be true. Like this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But I didn't have that feeling. Like when he told me, I was excited. Like, yeah, this is. I definitely feel like this is something that we should be doing. Like, thank you for asking. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
I'm sure you felt a similar way when he gave you that call. Um,
What was weird for me with all that was like, it was like before he even told me what, so he kind of like beat around the bush about what was going on. And I was like, what is this dude talking about?
yeah,
And then before he actually even told me about it, God told me to say yes. I didn't even know what it was. I had no idea what was going on, but I felt God in that moment tell me to say yes. And so I was like, I was listening to what he was saying, and I was like, in a way, I was listening, but I kind of wasn't even listening because I was like, it doesn't matter, bro. I was told to say yes to this, so I gotta say yes.
that's
But
wild.
it's just crazy. It's like Antoine texted me the other day just asking how I was doing. Like A year ago, I didn't have people like that in my life. So yeah, it's wild, man. It's insane.
Yeah, and I imagine you said he was beating around the bush. I imagine there's an element of fear presenting that to somebody who you just met, you
Yeah.
know, um, because it is a lot, and it's a big dream,
Hmm.
and so I think for him to be able to do that, is pretty awesome. So, but yeah, man, um, we've definitely created a pretty strong community, and we're adding people to it with these playlists
Hmm.
and with our pages and with all the stuff that we're doing. And I love it. I love to see it, and I'm glad that we all stuck around, uh, even up to this point. I know we're still kind of in the infancy stage of this, but it's still really awesome to see, um, all of us, all the things that we're doing. You just linking up with a bunch of people, making a whole bunch of music. It's dope, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had even gotten to a point within my music where I was like, I'm just gonna do it by myself then. If I can't connect with anybody, I'm just gonna make my own music. And
Yeah.
then it's like the second I decided to do that, God was like, here you go.
Mhm.
I guess since we're here and we're talking, like, I should probably mention classic sound music. That's gonna be something that's kind of under the On Fire umbrella.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Were you in that FaceTime when me and Godbody were talking about it? Or,
I think I was at the beginning, and then I think I had to leave or
okay, I'm not gonna get too deep on it because that's like his baby, and he's just
something.
asked me to be a part of it. I'll let him speak on that when he wants. But we are starting like a label. I'll be his first artist. Right now, like we're not 100% what that even entails yet, but I have a feeling that it's gonna, if we feel like On Fire is gonna go somewhere, then we should also feel like that's gonna go somewhere. You know what I mean? So we just that's my brother, man. I talk to him a lot. We were talking right before I got on the podcast. So yeah, you guys just be on the lookout for that, I guess. We created like an Instagram page for it and everything, and we'll start getting going with that soon.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially if we get these ideas that are like this, to just roll with it. We
Yeah,
didn't
just
just,
do it. I mean,
yeah,
what's it gonna hurt? The worst that could happen is it fizzles out. At least you tried.
for sure, man. Well, brother, I think we have a pretty good idea of who you are.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. This is a good conversation.
yeah, man. Yeah, we'll definitely have more conversations in the future, especially since we're starting another podcast. So, um,
Yeah,
I don't know if is that like secret
I don't
things that
think so. I don't know. I don't know.
we'll cut that.
You guys recorded your episode, right? So we have two episodes recorded.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll just need to get on another one, man. I'm
Yeah,
down whenever. We'll have to text the group
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll all be having some more conversations in the future. So I'm pretty excited about that.
for
But
sure.
all right, man. Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am Jake with a Y, which I assume you will have in the description because people don't know how to spell that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm at Jake with a Y on literally everything. Instagram, well, everything. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, or not Twitter. Okay, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Okay.
And then you can find me on literally any streaming platform under that same name. We got a lot of new music coming out, a lot, like way too much. I'm at a point where I'm like overcommitting to things. So, um, but yeah, man, it's fun. It's fun. So yeah, anywhere somebody wants to come talk to me, man, I'm open. So
Yeah, bro. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your vulnerability, man. Um, it's important for people to hear what it is that you have to say, because you got a crazy story, and you know you got a lot of love to give, and a lot of uh, people that I believe need to hear your testimony.
appreciate it.
Yep. All right, brother. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and have a good one.